All right, so we're gonna touch on, gonna touch on some music, right? So, I will kick things off with Magic Tree, right? This is the newest album from Nas. This is actually his 17th album. It was released on his birthday. That will be September the 14th of this year, through his record label, and we literally got news of this about a week or so before it dropped, right? And what makes this record pretty interesting is that this is the closing chapter of his Magic trilogy, right? And a lot of talk about the whole trilogy aspect of this, right? So just to kick things off, right? This is he basically did two trilogies, right? I.e., six albums with Hit Boy, right?
Right.
And for the most part, I have enjoyed. Yeah, I've enjoyed all of them. In varying degrees, right? Um, so of course, with Magic, this came out right. Actually, no, I'll never forget this, right? So this literally came out. I believe it was Christmas Eve, right? So right when we already had King's Disease 2 up there, as far as favorite albums of the year go. Yeah, Nas just dropped this surprise project. It was technically an EP kind of on Christmas evening. And I was like, hey, Wood, you know what I mean? I could listen to that, right? And we didn't even know back then that this was going to lead up to a brand new trilogy, right? Because we just thought it was just like I just there thinking there's going to be this King's Disease series and that's it, right? That I wasn't really thinking about it as a trilogy per se, or at least with this Magic thing here as a new trilogy, right? But it's just really a testament to the the undeniably magnetic chemistry that both Nas and Hit Boy have, right? Yeah, literally for the first time in his career now, he literally found a producer that he just do full projects with, right? Over the years, over the decades, it's just been hey, Timbaland, Primo, Large Professor, yay, I like this beat. All right, do a beat for me, right? But in this case here, this is the first time where he actually like just did a full project with with a producer, if I'm not mistaken, right? And well, you checked out Magic too, and I remember you said that you liked it, but you didn't love it as much as
Yeah.
I think you were
I
comparing
remember.
it to you were comparing it to King's Disease 3 and 2, right? If I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
Well, I remember it does not. I remember not liking it because it felt a bit underproduced. That was my only complaint. I remember that. That's
Okay,
what I
okay.
remember. What?
All right. So what I'll do here, so it's not like a full album review per se, right? Because honestly, I didn't write any notes, but I did listen to it numerous times, right? What I would say about Magic Tree here, right? It really does like compared to how King's Disease 3 was. This one really feels like this is the end of of a saga, if you will. It's the end of a trilogy, right? It has a more sentimental feel to it, right? Especially the production. I know a lot of people weren't wowed by Hit Boy's production and Magic 2, but I like that he was doing different things, right? He was trying different styles out, right? Whether it was using that dancehall sample on Booking Woodbine, or using some southern hip hop on Black Magic, whatever it is, right? He was trying different beats out, right? And for me, I just always felt like Nas was just kind of just observing what Hit Boy was doing and say, what, I could actually make a song out of this now. You know what I mean? I could do something like that, right? But I know for some people it'll be easy to compare like the work that he did on that album and this one here to like what he did in King's Disease 3 and 2, for example, where it just had I don't know, it just had a more how to say way it just had a more internal feel to it. Like it just had a more emotional feel to it, right? It was just kind of drawing, pulling your heartstrings a little bit, right? And it has a sort of a nostalgic vibe to it as well, especially on King's Disease 2, which leaned a lot into nostalgia, right? But here, what I would say with Magic Tree though is that it feels very much like what we've gotten with the past, Nas and Hit Boy collaborations, where it's and you have to look at it like this too, because I would say, especially to somebody like you, who like you who haven't listened to it, I would imagine you would come out of this like, yeah, it's alright. You know what I mean? Like the beats themselves might may not stand out to you, right? In particular, I actually admire what Hit Boy did production wise, but I will confess that I was not blown away by the beats themselves, right? Um, what I do like though is how, again, just how sentimental they feel. They have a soulful sort of nostalgic vibe, right? And you have to look at it, especially with Nas now, that, because think about it, he just turned 50 years old, right? And since he's been doing this whole King's Disease thing, it's just basically about him just reflecting on, hey, you know what I mean? I'm in my late 40s, well, at the time when the, first King's Disease came out, right? And I'm in a much different place right now. Financially, I'm at the best point in my life. We that doing things and making things happen. I pretty much set for the rest of my life. So yeah, I could talk about that. I could rap about that, but I also kind of reflecting on, what led me to this point. The mistakes that I've made, the things that I've experienced, all that kind of stuff, right? And you get that through Magic Tree. So I would say if you have enjoyed this nostalgic Nas, that's the best way I'll sum it up. Yeah, you will enjoy Magic Tree, right? But if you just kind of wanna, if you just kind of come into this expecting bops, like what you would get see in King's Disease 3, yeah, you would be disappointed by this, right? Because I would say, yeah, I mean, I honestly enjoy King's Disease 3 more than this one because yes, while it had the nostalgic vibe to it now, you had some bops to it. You had some moments where you could kind of nod your head and just have fun with it, right? And I guess it's kind of hard to review something like this, right? Because
Right.
yeah, because I don't want to be the guy to say, well, it didn't have enough bops. That means I don't like it. But I just be
Right.
like, if I could just sort of kick back, relax, and just vibe to it, right, without having to listen. Like I just have it like just playing in the background. I could just vibe to it. You know what I mean? That's what I want to get from it. But I could also dive in deep and hear, or I should say take in or be reminded of what Nas is saying, right? Not saying that he is largely ignored when I'm listening to the music, right? So what I will just say without rambling too much though is that this is yet another solid project between the two of them. Their chemistry is off the chain now. And yeah, you really do get some solid tracks to this, right? For me, my top favorite is Never Die, because this features a verse from Lil Wayne that,
Right. I saw Lil Wayne have a good track on it. I
yeah,
see
that
a
that is,
couple tracks that I know I think might stick with me. I know Japanese Soul Bass will be okay.
all right.
Never Die, and I love this feeling.
Yeah.
Like I know the sample, so I was like, oh, I think that might be okay.
Okay, okay. Well, I will say the,
Yeah.
the, the, the sample for that use it, I love this feeling, that stays with you, boy. Even though
Yeah.
I don't know it or probably heard it years ago with a song or something like that. But yeah,
Right.
trust me, that sample will stay in your subconscious way. But yeah, Never Die has a superb verse from Lil Wayne, though. I don't want to call it verse the year as yet, though, but it's just that smart wittiness that you come to expect from Wayne, boy. And I don't know how he do it, but he does do it so well, right? Japanese Soba is cool as well. Even though I wasn't really completely wowed by the first beat itself, but the second beat that
Right.
closes it, it has like a very like jazzy vibe to it. Do it. I love how it ends with this sample of like a show that he did way back in the early 90s when he was like Nasty Nas, right? And this guy was interviewing him. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like you have this sort of old rappers vibe to you, but you're from the new school and that kind of thing. So it kind of takes it, again, just touching on where Nas is, right? And if you just kind of look at this whole like both trilogies actually, right, but especially with Magic, especially with 2 and 3, right, if you kind of look at it as, all right, this is Nas at age 49 at the time of him recording those projects,
Right.
I look it back and tell yourself, all right, I appreciate where I'm at right now, I love where I'm at right now, and I just want to express that through song, then yes, you will really really enjoy this, right? But again, now the best way I could sum it up though, just to wrap things up though, is a vibe. You had to be in a mood to sit down and listen to that album, right? To the point that even right now, even though I really did enjoy Magic 2, I kind of have that and 3 kind of together. Like I feel like they work together in tandem, even though they're part of a trilogy, right? So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that like right now. I wouldn't say that I love 2 and 3, right? But as far as being part of this overall trilogy, I really do admire and appreciate what Nas did, right? And that's the best way I could really sum it up. So if you're a Nas fan, of course you have to listen to it. You will enjoy it in some way, shape, or form, right? But you had to go in knowing the mindset that Nas is in with it, right? It's very sentimental. It's very nostalgic. It's very, yes, look at me now. You know what I mean? Look where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? I could talk about, could literally on Japanese Soul Bar, for example, he's talking about literally going to this. I believe that's that was it's not a venue. I think it's like a literal bar in Japan that he went to. I know he's
Right.
talking about how the place looks and the food he's eating. Like yeah, this dude talking about like this dude rapping about eating lobsters and stuff like that, right? So it's that kind of mindset that I could go into like yeah, this man talking about rich shit. I didn't even reach there yet, but
Yeah.
but the idea is that he's kind of motivating the next generation to kind of work towards that sort of level of just life there, just being able to be financially and mentally and just spiritually secure for the rest of your life. That's where that's what he's working towards, and he's at a point where he's satisfied, right? You feel that satisfaction throughout this record, but there are moments where yes, he would look back and be like say for example no tears for example or sitting with my thoughts for example where yeah he will ruminate on past mistakes and things that didn't play out the way he wanted to, but through those mistakes he was able to learn and move forward, right? So it's like that. But in terms of like if I were to compare to the King's Disease trilogy though, I would say that the King's Disease trilogy is much better, just merely because of the beats themselves, just what Hit Boy brought to the table, right? um and yeah, again, it was just some moments where you could just kind of bop, like again, just some bops, just moments that I could just enjoy just for being solid rap songs, right? I'll close this. Hit Boy, I would say through both trilogies, though, Hit Boy really proved himself to be one of the best producers in the game, though. I would say like right now he should be up there as one of the greatest, like out there, Dread. And he
Right.
has 6 albums, 2 trilogies to prove all this, Dread. Because yeah, I would say Nas really brought the best out of him, Dread. He really did, right? And I would say Hit Boy brought the best out of Nas too, as well, right? Because yeah, even though like I would just another like quick gripe though. I felt like it's like beat wise, it wasn't as consistent as all that though. But I mean, the beats are still solid, right? But I would say like even when Hit Boy would just bring something a little bit different to the table, yeah, Nas kind of met that challenge, and he will come through with solid wordplay. The stuff that you would expect from Nas is just you wouldn't expect to hear him rap over a beat like this. It's like that, right? So just give it a quick rating here. I would just give this a decent 4 to 5. Just a decent 4 to 5 for now. This is one that I see myself going back to. I would say for a while now until years end, and then I could come and say, okay, I prefer 3/2, or still prefer 2/3, or I kind of have both of them up there as my favorites, right? But I don't want like this year to end and I just kind of forget about 2 or 3, right? Because yes, for the most part they were solid albums, but for me personally, and I imagine it will be the same way for other Nas fans. I think that they will prefer the King's Disease trilogy even more because of just the diversity that Hit Boy brought to the table, and not the sort of somber sentimental tone that he adapts through 2 and 3 in particular. Not so much 1, but 2 and 3 in particular, right? But I think I ramble enough. It's worth checking out. I still say it's worth checking out, but I would say don't go in with the expectations too high. Because if you go in with that, you'll come out of it like, I don't know, it's not KD3 though. Like, you know what I mean? It's not KD3 at all, right? It's much more mature, I would say, than the Kings Disease series, right? But yeah, when you get a chance, Ricardo, check it out. Let me know what you think.
Right.
Let me know. All right. All right, so sticking with rap a little bit longer now, let's talk about Exit Wounds. This is the newest album from New Jersey rapper Heezy Hines. I've talked about his work before, I should say, in particular with the collaborative record that he did with Mike Wise earlier this year. He's Wise, still one of my favorite albums of this year, right? And yeah, he dropped this project here. I don't want to call it an EP, even though it clocks the 20 minutes. I mean, you could put out something like I don't know that length and still call it an album, right? So for argument's sake, we're gonna call this an album, right? So it's 8 tracks, 20 minutes long, and I'm just gonna do this quick track by track review of it, right? I'm gonna have to do the solo because yeah, Ricardo, you didn't check it out. That's okay. So the album kicks off with Entrance, right? And I should mention too, he actually has this team of producers working on this project here, right? So I believe, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, every track is done by a specific, well, I should say, with the exception of one producer. But yeah, every track is done by a producer, right? But anyway, so we opened up with Entrance, right? This has a smooth nocturnal beat. It's laced with some soulful vocal chops. It has a payback vibe to it, though. If you remember that track off of Dirty Pages from Mike
Right.
Wise, that sort of soulful, like the sample itself sounds like it's lifted from the vinyl itself. It just has that kind of classy vibe to it, right? Um, and by the way, that was my official introduction to Heezy Hines, right? But before Heezy's verse kicks off, though, we hear the sample, and I had to do some Googling for this, though. From Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, right? Which is a Halloween movie that I never saw, nor do I have any intention to see because I hear it was trash, right? But whatever. But anyway, the sample is from Donald Pleasence's character, Dr. Sam Loomis, where he says, I prayed that he would burn in hell, but in my heart I knew that hell would not have him. And if you look at the album cover, it's very reminiscent, although it's not from the same film. It looks like a moment out of Halloween Kills, right? Where it's Michael Myers coming out of that burning house where he was left for dead pretty much, but he comes outside, and he's bent for revenge, right? But in this case, if you look at the album cover, it's someone looking at that house, almost like if it's like if he's looking at that house for for the last time, like if there's something of value inside there that he can't get or whatever it is, right? Um, and even that album cover itself looks like it's lifted from some horror movie, right? But the theme that I picked up from that cover and just show the album is that of redemption, right? It's about how is one capable of being redeemed, right? Especially from the bad things that they've done, right, or had done to them, right? So in this case with Heezy, though, it seems as if his redemption, or at least the way he could attain it, is through his art. It's true rap is all about spitting bars and kind of just exercising these like innermost demons inside out of him, right? That's the vibe that I get from him and through this record here, right? But yeah, this track is great though because it just shows off. Like if you're familiar with his work on Payback and He's Wise, he has this sort of multi-syllable way of rapping. Like he really zeroes in a lot on on multi-syllables, right? But in this case though, like it's just how technical he is on this beat here, right? So I just throw a little sound, little excerpt here, right? So he says, "Rap dudes deficiencies. That's food delish to me. Endlessly move efficiently. Cap to infinity. That you clap who you shitting me. The biggest greenest bitch holding fire. Statue of Liberty." Right? I know I'm butchering the lines, but it's just the way how he flows through them is great as well, right? So yeah, I mean, great way to kick things off. On the YouTube version of the album, right? This track ends with a snippet of the sound effect, this very disoriented sound effect that you hear before the ring entrance, well, I should say the entrance team to the late great Bray Wyatt, right? Well, at least the character of Bray Wyatt, right? Heezy is a wrestling fan, I know that. So this was just him kind of paying tribute to Bray, right? If you remember, he passed away a few weeks ago. But I also kind of see this as him kind of seeing himself as that kind of character, that tortured character too. Because if you're familiar with, the character of Bray Wyatt, when he came back to WWE, right? 'Cause remember he was on hiatus for a while.
Right.
He had this thing where he was trying to atone for his sins. He was trying to be, he was trying to escape his demons that right his past wrongs, but there was something that was kind of holding him back. But unfortunately, never really get to expand on that because life happened and he passed away, right? So that's that. Up next, we have The Paradise, which features Mike Wise, right? This is produced by Soul Child. He actually comes through with, well, actually, this is one of two beats that Soul Child, brings to the table, right? And this is actually the sole He's Wise track on this album. Okay, yeah, it's basically Heezy and Mike on this track here, right? So Soul Child pretty much just gives them just this simple, but it just works so well in terms of what both MCs do, right? So he just takes this piano loop, just a simple piano loop, right? Which sounds genuinely gorgeous, right? And it has a sort of disenchanted feel to it, right? and he just loops that. He just loops that. I just tell Heezy and Mike, yeah, rap over that. Just rap over it. Just do that, right? And there's no drums on this track at all, right? And yeah, surprise, surprise, they ripped this beat to shreds, right? Nobody, there's just a simple piano loop, right? Um, and I just love, it just goes back to his wise though. It's just the chemistry that they both share, right? Especially with the lyricism and the vivid wordplay that they deliver, right? So both of them body the verses, right? And I would say they both deliver verse of the year contenders, right? There's a lot of quotables, so I will just pull the ones that each rapper started off with, right? So he kicked off his verse where he says, "My written verses can lift your burdens. Misinterpret the printed cursive, it gets a bit disturbing. Came with a purpose and did a service. Spitters turned from top prey the list to the list of missing persons." Then you have Mike Wise who opens his verse now where he says, treat these verses as prayers. You think my palms be clenching. None pretending, calm me resting. When I ain't harshly venting. These two-faced motherfuckers say for your sick of your Harvey Denton. Eager to see you scammers fall. Is that condescending? Think about that for a sec.
Yeah,
Anyway,
good one.
love this track, and this is coming from somebody who kind of like to hear a drum or two in a rap beat. But yeah, just the mere fact that they're spitting over a piano loop, though. I mean, there's nothing like mind blowing. It's not the first time a rapper did this, right? But I never hear these two do that, and they killed it, right? Up next, we have More Confusion, which is produced by Tuano. He comes through with probably the most upbeat instrumental on this album, right? Where yeah, it's pretty much this breezy production, and you hear these like serene female vocal chops kind of hovering over it, right? And even Mike White shows up, just a little bit, just to deliver a line. But where it comes in, it totally works. It has this sort of like old school uh, vibe to where, a rapper would just be like saying his stuff, and then like just this other rapper would just sort of come in and say a line just to compliment him, and just, well, sorry, just to finish off a verse and then move on. So he kind of does that, right? Lyrically, he's more or less focusing on just reminding himself on why he raps, and just the mental and spiritual benefits he gains from rapping, right? He also calls out rappers who like to talk tough and they brag about their material wealth and look how much guns I have and all that shit, but they're morally bankrupt inside, right? So yeah, solid track overall, right? Same thing I could say about Evocation, right, which is produced by the Outbreaks, right? Um, the Outbreaks come through with this ethereal, euphoric beat with some nice female vocalizing woven into it, right? And even though it has this kind of heavily vibe to it, though the song is anything but, right? Because he gets into a little storytelling. He does a little storytelling here, right? So he talks about this lady friend of his who's actually like caught up in this abusive relationship. There's a line where he says, "All in her psyche, he consumed her." That's Hannibal Lecter. That was really dope. But it kind of turns to him ending up in a relationship with her, right? Trying to console her, but one thing kind of leads to the next, right? So I just like but it's there's a lot of layers to it. That's all I'll say lyrically, right? But it's kind of like him trying to do the right thing in a sense, but almost being kind of selfish, like he wants to have her for himself. But that kind of has a little consequence it too, so it kind of causes more harm than good. You know what I mean? But yeah, this was a solid track nonetheless, right? Up next we have Time, which is produced by Young Swisher Prodigy. I'm now hearing about these guys, right? But yeah, I mean, production wise, sorry, everybody do their damn thing on this, right? For me, hands down, this is the best beat on this album. This is my top favorite beat here, right? It has this alchemist vibe to it, though, which is like the best compliment I could give this, right? 'Cause it has this sort of warped, wavy, kind of nocturnal production to it, right? Like almost like you could kind of just sit back and just get high to this, right? It's like that. Um, Here he kind of expands on the themes of more confusion. So he's telling the story about this former friend of his who got caught up in the street life, and he tries to get him back into it, right? But he's like, no, I kind of don't need to do this because I'm just trying to, I'm working towards the future. That's what I'm doing, right? And yeah, I don't really want anything to do with your shit, bro. I'm like I'm good, right? But yeah, great track, love it. For me, best beat on this album, right? Up next, we have Wounds. This is produced by St. James. St. James, I'm familiar with through his work off of He's Wise, right? And this is another favorite beat of mine. Okay, it has this jazzy kind of chilling out on a rainy day kind of vibe to it, right? So the best way I could sum it up is that it fuses.
Question. Quick
Uh,
question about that. Is the same people as the band St. James, or is it somebody else?
it's somebody else, I think. I think.
Okay. Okay.
Well, the band St. James, that's a rock group, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
is it the guy like? Yeah, whatever.
All right.
It's
No,
probably
well,
somebody.
it's St. James, right?
Right. That's
And
actually right, right, right.
the St. James you refer to have a different spelling, I think.
Sint, yeah, SINT. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay, just want to make sure, right? Yeah. So the best way I could sum it up is that it's a brilliant fusion of smooth jazz and boom bap. When you hear it, you'll know what I mean, right? It has that sort of, adult contemporary vibe to it, some shady like, but it just has these boom bap drums to it, though. But just how it fused together is lovely, in my opinion, right? And on the intro, he brings up this great point where he talks about, we all have wounds, but some of us have gave them out, right? So I love how he addressed that, right? I love also how he takes his time with his beat, right? He's maneuvering to the beat, he's taking his time, he's moving without, seamlessly through it. And, he's just addressing a slew of topics, right? Whether it's, hardcore hip hop artists, well, current, hardcore hip hop artists, or at least those who kind of fronted and tell themselves like, look at me and how tough I am, right? And they have like this like toxic fandom surrounding them. He touches on that. His religious beliefs, he talks about, and again, just remind himself why he raps in the first place, right? He even drops a few clever references, like he drops one with Cobra Kai, that was really cool. He drops one about the Pointer Sisters. I was like, all right, that's cool. I had to Google it, but that was cool. I like that, right? But yeah, great
There's
track though, and I
what is that
love the beat
Sesame
for
Street?
this.
Not Sesame Street reference.
No, 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 no. Oh, no,
Okay.
no, no, no. It's not that. It's not that.
Okay.
Right. So, a couple more tracks to go. Right. So we have "Nothing Left," which is produced by Dior. This opens with another Halloween vocal sample, but this one is from the OG 1978 film. Right. So, and again, it's from Sam Loomis. So this is where he says, "I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong." That's a reference, of course, to when he met Michael Myers when he was a kid. If you remember from the film where he killed his sister or whatever. No,
Yeah.
he killed his baby sister. He killed his baby sister and his sister. And then, well, now when Sam met him for the first time, that's when he said that. Well, that's what he's referencing, basically, right? So just kind of talking outside of the review itself though. Now I'm wondering in the context of the album if he kind of sees himself as Michael, not as this ruthless killing machine, of course, but kind of like somebody who's kind of seen and experienced so much bad in his life. He's numbed it, right? Like he's almost like dead to the world, right, or to whatever harm comes to him because yeah, he's dealt with a lot, right? I don't know. But anyway, Dior comes through with this trap flavored remake of sorts to the classic Mary J. Blige song "My Life," right, off the album of the same day, right? You hear a few lines from the song, especially the whole iconic "la di da da da," right, opening vocalization. You hear that through, and it gives the overall track a sense of hope, even though it has that, already hopeful Roy Ayers instrumentation in the background being sampled anyway, right? Um, Heezy brilliantly, in my opinion, addresses how people, are quick to judge, others for their religious beliefs and the mistakes they make in the past and so on, but they're slow to judge themselves, right? Um, Caught me completely by surprise with this though, but I think he did it well. He even tackles stuff like woke culture, which in itself is a very tough issue to address. But I love how he was able to share his perspective on it, right, without sounding preachy or pretentious, right? And he also ends it off with a line that for me is a instant quotable where he says, "But nothing's left if we ain't trying to trade a Joe Biden." As in Trader Joe,
Trader
as in
Joe's.
the
Yeah.
brand. Get it
Yeah.
right?
No.
So he does that. Again, there's a lot of subtext to it though, but I love it, right? But yeah, easy. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Trader Joe, I get, haha, right? But yeah, solid track nonetheless, right? And last but not least, we end with the exit, which features Paradise Blue. She's the sole vocalist actually that shows up on this album here, right? This is also produced by Soul Child, and I would say if you're a Wu Tang fan, you will instantaneously gravitate to this track because This is basically Soul Child's version of the beat of RZA's beat off of Raekwon's Heaven or Hell track. That's off of Only Built for Cuban Links, right? So while that was the penultimate track now, and it kind of helped bring the album to a close with the sort of soulful, reflective, and rather melancholy vibe of that beat. The exit is the final track, right? And Soul Child pretty much kind of just takes the same Syl Johnson sample and he just loops it. I don't think he added any extra drums like what RZA did with his beat, right? Um, there's even some female vocalizers on this track as well, which is courtesy of Paradise Blue. That's eerily similar to like what Blue Raspberry did off of Heaven and Hell, right? Blue Raspberry, by the way, was this female vocalist. She, collaborated with the with certain Wu Tang members. So like Raekwon, Ghostface Killer. She worked on their debut albums, right? And also on Wu Tang Forever. She shows up a few times on that album as well, right? And similar to Heezy's highly emotional verse and the final verse in general of a He's Wise, if you remember that, Ricardo, he comes through with a deeply personal verse about his rough upbringing, right? How his parents were, addicted, right? That's all I'll say without spoiling anything, right? And how that affected him as an adult, right? The alcoholism he dealt with for years, to his own vices, which pretty much, teared his family apart, his own family apart. Uh, but again, going back to the theme of redemption, he kind of just finds it through addressing it, through rapping about it, through literally getting it off his chest, through exercising them, right? That's what he does. Even to the point at the end where he kind of calls out someone who's close to him for kind of following a different but still similar path of self-destruction, right? It's a truly powerful way to end the album, and it's probably the most brutally honest I've ever heard Heezy, like ever, in my opinion, right? And that's coming from somebody who still has to check out more of his work, though. But yeah, he really, really, really killed it on this file track here. So yeah, as a whole, just as a showcase of Heezy, right? I think that this album delivers the goods, man. I think that this is a solid record. If I
Right.
just have a gripe though, is just 20 minutes. It's really, really,
Right.
really short though. Like I felt we could have gotten, I don't know, I guess two more tracks and then we could have had it as an even 10, you know what I mean? It could have just gone on for, I don't know, let's an extra 5 or 10 minutes, right? Um, but it's just like I would say like if you just enjoy lyricism, like, you just enjoy bars and bars on top of bars just being just being and just the technical wordplay aspect of things, yeah, you will absolutely enjoy this, right? The beat selection for this is great. I love how soulful and laid back the vibe is throughout, and it just it helps with the varying emotions that you get throughout this record as well. The track with him and Mike Wise is fantastic. Again, first year contenders are on that track, so just look out for Paradise. Just seek that out if you get a chance. And yeah, again, it's just showing just how great of a wordsmith he is, though. Just how he's just able to just construct these verses and these bars. It's just so well. But then it's not just about the construction. Can you get that, right? If you just love seeing rhyme stack on top of rhyme, you'll enjoy that, right? But you also get like just more depth in terms of who Heezy is and why he does what he does, right? Especially at his age and with the circumstances that he had to deal with, right? Leading up to this point here. So yeah, for me, rating wise, I'm gonna give this a strong 4 out of 5. Man, I really enjoy this. It's short, but it's sweet. It's concise. It's compact. It's to the point, and I would say, just in closing though, it's a perfect entry point into Heezy Hines' work. But I would recommend that you also check out He's Wise as well because yeah, the again the chemistry that he had with Mike Wise on that record was great as well, right? But yeah, just as a solo project, pretty much with just Heezy, just handling things. Yeah, he did his damn thing on this record, right? So it's on Spotify and YouTube right now. So I'll also put the links to where you could. Well, I should say the YouTube link in particular. I'll put in the description of this review here. And yeah, just go on Spotify, search Heezy Hides, Exit Wounds, and Look for that album cover with the guy standing in front of that burning house. You can't miss it. You literally can't miss it, right? But yeah, another solid project, man. I really can't wait to hear what he brings next, man. This was solid business, man. I really enjoyed this.